Well, our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball is here. Good evening to you, Jeremy. How common is Rob's experience of the PTSD there then?
I mean, in some ways it's pretty typical, Anne, because you used to hear those terrible stories of veterans simply being told to man up. And then, you know, what would happen is symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder would start to emerge often years later. Now, it is very different now. There's a lot more support for veterans. And I've been speaking today to one of Nottinghamshire County Council's veterans advocates, who's counsellor, a former soldier called John O'Lee, who was diagnosed with PTSD himself after his leg was blown off in Afghanistan. These pictures taken as he was being rescued shortly after that explosion.
People like myself that have lost legs and lost limbs get that support very early on, and our chance of getting PTSD lowers. We know that for a fact. So people that will serve a full term in the military, not get injured, leave the military, then all of a sudden PTSD hits on average 10, 15 years. At that point, they've lost all the military contacts, they've lost contacts with a lot of friends. My opinion is every single person that has served in Iraq and Afghanistan, because that's my expertise, would have some form of PTSD, in my opinion. You can't do the job that we did for a decade and not have side effects. You just can't.
How important is it that people get this help?
Really important. There's so much help, charities out there, so much help for people, and trust me, I've needed that help. We had a conversation last year where I told you that I don't think people realise I nearly committed suicide, and I needed that help, I needed that support. And it is there, but when you are in dire need, you're sometimes not able to ask for that help.
But what happens though if those veterans don't ask for the help?
Well, what John says is friends and families really need to speak up if things don't seem right. So in his case, for instance, he was taking his mind off things by staying up late playing computer games. More commonly, you'll see people turning to the bottle, drinking too much, or having nightmares or flashbacks. And of course, these days veterans can get a lot of help from the NHS. There's also a lot of support and information from local councils. And sometimes what they'll do is put you in touch with a specialist charity like Combat Stress or the Royal British Legion.
Many of the veterans who contact us are often not registered with a GP, so we will support someone to make sure that that happens. And then we will work with you and a veteran that reaches out for support with lots of other organisations. So very typically the NHS, who have specialist mental health services for veterans, or other charities.
So we've talked about veterans, but PTSD doesn't just affect the military.
It doesn't. I mean, think of the sort of things that paramedics or police officers have to deal with fairly routinely, but all sorts of traumatic experiences can cause PTSD if you've been attacked, if you're involved in a serious road accident, for instance. And of course, when the pandemic struck, there was real concern about the impact on hospital staff who were working in those COVID wards.
OK. Jeremy, thanks very much indeed for that.